Hi, welcome to the THC show with Neil. This is the show where we expose some of the truths about what's not right about what's going on, as those of you who are regular viewers know. But we do also try to provide some hope and some avenue of change. Today on the show, as always, we'll have 8 out of 10 Glenn join us for the 420 session, and Jerry Martin is here for the Martin Medical Moment. And my guest today will be Johnny B, grower extraordinaire, known, he wears several different hats, and we're going to talk to him about some of those hats that he wears. So happy to have Johnny B on the show today. Right off the bat, we got some breaking news. These scumbags that are running around making Nazis look good, shutting down people's access to medical dispensaries, have hit again. This time in Gibson's with the S&M Sweet Shop, a medical dispensary over there that has the full support of their town and the community that they're operating in. And here, with our tax dollars being used, these scumbag piece of shit police officers, giving cops a really bad name, have been there this morning shutting down the S&M Sweet Shop. Very unhappy about that, as we all should be. This is atrocious. It goes against the Supreme Court rulings. It goes against everything that's right, and we need to do something about this. So I think they're picking on the wrong people again, but I think we have a video, Neil. Let's show that video of the raid this morning at the S&M Sweet Shop.
Okay, just getting to the store now. The fucking pigs are here raiding us. Let's go and have a look. Hello.
Hi, Michelle. How are you doing?
Well, I've had better days.
Yeah.
You guys are coming here and doing this while I'm at home with my dog. He's in palliative care. He's dying right now, and now I'm stuck down here with you guys. And you're stealing medicine from sick people?
No, not only that, he illegally opened the back of my truck and he's seizing everything in my personal vehicle now.
And
Right
Sergeant Hallam, you know very well we've got full approval from the town of Gibson's to be a medical dispensary. You were there when we pled our case.
Yeah, but it's under the provincial government.
Okay, well, how about this? How about this right on here from the head prosecutor of Canada that says right here.
Excuse me. Thank you.
And I need everybody's badge numbers, your names. But read this right here. Any dispensary solely selling for medical purposes is not breaking the law.
I know.
Well, then what are you doing here then?
It's not, I'm not saying
Why are you not at the
This is from the head prosecutor of Canada.
Yeah.
So you guys are breaking the law. This is what I
You're
keep telling you
stealing.
guys.
Did anybody call 911 and report a robbery yet?
Yeah, she's here. She won't listen to me.
Well, did you phone 911?
You need a government
Excuse me.
license issued.
We have a municipal from a local
The
government.
the Supreme Court of Canada trumps any law. And the Supreme Court of Canada says patients have a right to get their medicine from where they want to. The government shit is poisoning people. And you keep shaking your head, yes, yes, yes. Well, then what are you doing here? How could you even take this job?
I'm listening to you.
How could you even take this job? Honestly. How could you come here knowingly damaging sick people? How? Can you please answer that?
I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
Because you have no conscience?
I just don't have any comment.
Have you ever had anybody sick in your life? Anybody dying of cancer in your life? Do you know what that means to people? Why? We're supposed to answer your questions.
No, you don't have to answer my question.
Do you know how many people in this community that we help who are dying? And you don't give a shit?
She won't care until it's somebody that she loves, Michelle. And
Obviously, that doesn't even matter. Obviously, that doesn't even matter. I feel sorry for you, quite honestly. Because when it's time for you to pay your price, you're going straight to hell. Yep, just stand there and shake your head. Yep. You guys are disgusting. Especially you local RCMP officers that are here, who are members of this community. And this is my vehicle. Whoever gave you, this is my vehicle. Who gave you the right to go into my
You
vehicle?
opened it up illegally and looked in.
Yep, this is my vehicle. You're taking my personal possessions. Yep, taking sick people's medicine. Yep. I'll be sure to make sure to tell all of the patients that we help with cancer to come and see you stuff, Sergeant Hallam. And you can explain to them. Who are you? What's your name?
Lamont.
Lamont what?
Lamont.
Pardon me?
My name is Lamont.
Lamont.
My number's 4004.
Is that your last name, your first name? Lamont 4004. Did you give a card to anybody yet?
You've got a card inside. Your husband's got a card.
Seriously, how could you be doing this?
Michelle, we have a job to do.
I know you have a sick child. Do you know how many sick children that we have? So do we. So do we.
Here. We're just here to support what they have to do.
Support them? Support them for harming people in your community? What about our safety? What about the people that you're taking from safety?
Yeah, there's processes. You know what they are.
People, do you know how many people have gone to that stupid store down below and have brought us back their sick, disgusting so-called medicine? It's shit. It's poisoning people. And you guys are okay with this? You're disgusting pigs. And I don't mean in the pig sense as in I'm calling you as a cop as a metaphor pig. I mean in life as general. It's disgusting what you people are doing.
Absolutely. In fact, I don't think they should be disgracing pigs' names like that, because no pig's going to walk in and take people's medicine away from them. These people are monsters. This is disgusting. They're making the Nazis look good. Shame on our government. Shame on anybody involved in this. Those local RCMPs should know better than this. They should be standing up against the CSU. Shame on John Horgan. Shame on the CSU. There's people suffering right now because of them. Not to mention the people that are dying from fentanyl overdoses because places like S&M Sweet Shop have been closed down all over the place, and people on fentanyl and hard drugs are able to go and use cannabis high-dose edibles to get off that at the medical places, not the government stores. And shutting them down is absolutely murder. Shame on these people. Shame on our government. Call the RCMP. Look up their number for Gibsons and call them and tell them that this is the worst display of an abuse of public funds that you've ever seen. If that video doesn't piss you off, you're not human. That's just insane. These are people that have been risking their livelihoods and their liberty for, helping people get sick medicine for a long time. Sorry, I'm a little upset. And it's just really hard for me to watch that, and hard to know that that's what's going on over there. Hard for me to segue into what I wanted to talk about in my monologue today after having watched that. But I wanted to talk about seeds. And people are seeds, and seeds are ideas. They say that the Word of God is seeds, and God in the Bible said that He has created these seed-bearing herbs, and that they are very good, and that they are for everyone. And He announced that, behold, I've given you every plant yielding seed on the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit, and that they are very good and they are for everyone. Yet here are these assholes on our dime thinking that they can go and take the fruits of these seeds away from people and punish them and condemn them to suffering and death and all the rest of it. So I'm very disgusted in that. Seeds are amazing. Seeds are what all of us came from. Seeds is what just about all life comes from. Seeds are incredible. Nature manages to pack all this information into these tiny, tiny little spaces that can withstand great forces and long periods of time and float out into space in some cases and survive and turn into amazing things, beautiful flowers, whales, dinosaurs, human beings, all these things. And the seeds should be free. Seeds should be free for everyone. It is the basis of life. They should be given away by our government to anybody that wants them. I mean, on a commercial basis, it's a little more difficult to have free seeds. But then again, nature does provide for that. For almost every crop that's grown out there, farmers are able to harvest the seeds that were produced in that crop and then use them to create more and more plants, and over and over and over it goes. Except in the case of cannabis, of course. In the case of cannabis, the plant that's so valuable that they're willing to spend trillions of dollars and condemn people to lifetimes in prison and execution and the rest of it to keep people from having these amazing seeds. It's just so insane, isn't it? But the cannabis seeds are prohibited around the world. Even in Canada, with so-called legalization, you're going to have to get seeds from licensed producers. They're going to be genetically modified seeds, and they don't have high THC levels, and that's what everybody wants those seeds for. That's going to be buying them off these licensed producers. Don't buy their seeds. Don't buy their products. Seeds are a form of nutrition, one of the best forms of nutrition. In fact, the cannabis seed is the best source of nutrition on the planet for human beings. It has everything in there. It has the vitamins, the nutrients, the fibers, the proteins, all of the essential fatty acids in the proper combinations for human heart functions and the rest of it. Seeds are nutrition. Flax seeds are excellent. Seeds of all sorts. Nuts are seeds. Seeds should be free. Instead, what's going on is you can't even legally get cannabis seeds here in Canada. And the ones that you can get coming from seed banks and other places that are operating illegally and against the Cannabis Act are way overpriced. Way overpriced. It costs like $100 for 10 little seeds, and 5 of those seeds are going to be male. And they're not looking for the male plants in most cases. Although you should be looking for the odd male plant, because then you make your own seeds, and then you don't have to buy seeds that are that expensive. But really, seeds should be free. And they should be given away freely. And they should be given away especially to people that would be using them for medical purposes and anybody that wants them. Instead of limiting how many plants you can have and where you can get your seeds, the government should get their nose right the hell out of there. They have no business in this whatsoever. Your public servant is there to protect you if there's things to be protected from, and they're there to help you if there's things that can help you. Cannabis helps people. So government interfering and putting on, 5 levels of taxation, ridiculous regulations, and all of the rest of it to try to monopolize on a prohibition world pricing scheme that's supposed to pay off billions to people that want to get rich off of patients and people that just want to use a plant, and all of our tax dollars being wasted to have police run around and make sure that you're only growing 4 plants and you got your weed off of the licensed producers and all the rest of that to protect ridiculous monopolies that couldn't possibly survive in a free marketplace with pricing that's 100 times what it should be. And seeds are no different. So yeah, I'm trying to plant some seeds right now. Actually, I consider myself a seed planter. That's kind of what I do. Because I think ideas are seeds, and I think that those kind of ideas that you can give to people can grow into amazing things. Of course, there's good seeds and bad seeds. There was Abraham with his 2 sons, and apparently one was a good seed and one was a bad seed. But I'm talking about the good kind of seeds that I like to try to plant with people, where I get them to think a little bit about, why they should be paying taxes and what taxes are for, and what are public servants all about, and why are they called servants when they act like dictators and all those kind of things. I want to plant those seeds in people's minds, because those seeds can grow, and as people sleep at night and they dream about the things that they encountered during the day, then those seeds can grow into ideas that they wake up in the morning and they're going to go and do something and make the world a better place, because that's what ideas do, and that's what seeds can do, is they make the world a better place. So cherish your seeds, give your seeds away, produce seeds, demand that they be at least economically viable, not $10 or $12 a seed or whatever they are. And I'm still so upset about what's gone on in Gibsons today and what's been going on, with this so-called legalization. Freddie Pritchard, I love you, buddy. You were right for the most part. It took longer than you thought it was going to take, and they haven't wiped everything out yet. But man, you were sure spot on about us being afraid of legalization and not accepting it, and understanding that it's really just an attempt to take over the entire cannabis industry that had thrived and grown to the vibrant, entrenched community that we have here, that's still here. And Trudeau's so-called legalization is nothing more than an attempt to continue to oppress that community, to wipe it out, to replace it with the cannabis entrepreneurs that are nothing more than corporatists looking to capitalize on the sick and on people's desires. And it's really disgusting, and I'm really ashamed of our government for what they're doing. There's differing reports on just how much stock is now piling up with these licensed producers, but they're not selling their product the way that they thought they would by any means, because nobody's going into those stores more than once or twice. You wouldn't go and pay those prices for that ridiculously bad, uncured, old weed, overpackaged and putting money in the pockets of corporate, greedy, corrupt, evil bastards. So nobody's going to support those stores. We don't let our friends go into those stores. We warn everybody that that's not what marijuana is supposed to be. That's not how it's supposed to be sold, and those people aren't the people that are supposed to be selling it. So they've got somewhere between 2 and 4 times the amount of weed that they've already sold in a year and a half sitting in stockpile, now waiting to just dry out a little more, to lose their terpenes a little more, to lose whatever value was there, so that they can sell it to you at outrageous prices, because that's the only place that they're going to allow you to buy it without fear of prosecution and jail and all the rest of it. Well, screw them, screw their system, and we're not going to go away, and we're not going to stop, and it's not much different than it was before so-called legalization. Oh, thanks for that. You know, I needed to be saved from this monologue here. That's never my favorite part of the show. I want to get this stuff off my chest, but I've yet to feel like I really do it in a way that's proper. So bear with me until I've practiced this enough times that I can come on here and really succinctly explain just how corrupt our system is, just how wrong this whole legalization scheme is, and what rights you're supposed to have that you don't have, and all the rest of that. I'm working hard to be able to explain that as simply as I can, and one of these monologues, maybe I'll get it right. In the meantime, I'm going to still keep banging away at it and trying. And thanks for listening. And if you got something rolled up, well, it's just about time. And if you don't, you got a half a minute or so to roll it up, because we're moving to the 420 session. Well, we got the 20. You got a second clock on your thing there, Mr. Audience Member. I'm going to assume that I'm waiting. I'm just waiting. I will say that, I'm very happy every show to have 8 out of 10 Glenn from CannaMatch.ca join me for the 420 session. It's there we go, 420. Very good. Thanks, everybody. Light him if you got him. It's great to have a time, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's nice to have a time. And a date. A time and a date.
Yeah.
We got a time and a date. And this year, 420 is all April long, because it's the year 2020.
But the event is only the one day.
Well, the event is just on that big event is on the one day.
Yes,
I'm wearing the whole shirt all show today.
All right, you got it there.
But 420 is all of April. So if you want to plan an event around 420, any day in April works just fine. Careful about April 1st there. People might not believe you. Thank you. Well, Glenn, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
I heard that you had a birthday this weekend.
Well, that
Did
happened.
You?
Yeah,
you
that
turned
happened.
36, was it?
That's right.
Yeah, 36.
I love dyslexia.
I know.
And we got Landlord with
We
us.
got Landlord day to do.
Landlord
Well, anyways,
with
I brought you some birthday gift.
thank
I brought
you
you some
very much.
lemon zip. There you go, a nice quarter ounce of lemon
Where were you
zip.
on my birthday?
I don't know, you weren't here.
Here, Landlord, I'll give you this for your
Yeah, I'll share that with you. So there's some lemon zip.
So those of you who've been watching the show regularly will notice a difference from the last 5 weeks. Glenn and I are not wearing our Canucks gear.
Yes.
Because they're not in first place anymore.
No.
And maybe they never will be again, or maybe they win tomorrow night and they're back there. And,
I'm not going with the never they won't be. No, that's going to happen. It's going to happen.
You never know, though. This
You
is
never
such
know.
a tight
No,
race.
I know.
I mean, they're not even guaranteed a playoff spot by any means. They're only like 5 or 6 points out of missing the playoffs. Good news is they're only 5 or 6 points out of being in first place in the whole Western Division Conference. See what happens.
They're going to make them. At least the first round.
We'll be wearing the gear again.
We'll be wearing the gear again.
Yeah.
Yes, we will. And maybe we'll get a Neil doing it.
Will they be playing golf soon, I guess?
Well,
No golf this year.
hopefully not.
Not till July.
Yeah, exactly.
Not till July.
I'd like to see a Stanley Cup, not Stanley Park.
I want to see. I thought of that yesterday. I want to see the Stanley Cup in Stanley Park. Finally, it comes home.
You know what I want to see? I want to see the Sedins be coach and assistant coach of the Canucks.
I see. Well, they would be great.
They would be good. They would bring
yeah.
their Swedish knowledge to the team and stuff like that.
Coaching is a different animal, but I think they would be good. I think
it would
so.
be really bad. I think they're going to stick with the Canucks, and they're going to do something probably in management.
Maybe they can bring the Canucks a cup anyway one day. Maybe,
I really think that
They
those
came
guys
so
would
close,
be a good addition to their coaching staff and stuff like that.
I got a Trevor Linden card.
I
You
think
got a
that.
Trevor Linden card.
I mean, I might be biased, but I do think that the Canucks, during that last Stanley Cup run, I think they were like the best team that hasn't won a Stanley Cup in the history of the NHL.
Yeah.
They were a damn good team. They came up against the Boston Bruins that.
And we've got a lot of,
They were
a lot
tougher.
of teams that have come up that haven't won anything for a while. Just like recently, the football. Wasn't it that team hadn't won in 49 years or
Long
50
time,
years
yeah.
or something
Kansas
like that?
City.
So,
Kansas City.
it's our turn, right?
It could happen. It's been
Yeah.
50 years.
Yeah.
50 years.
50 years.
50 years.
Yeah.
I remember being so excited when they got the team here in Vancouver.
Oh, I know.
My cousin had just recently made the Chicago Blackhawks, and I was so excited about that. And then Vancouver's going to get a hockey team, and he's going to come and play NHL hockey here. I'd watched hockey since I was a baby.
What do you think about Seattle joining?
I wonder what the name's going to be. They're talking Kraken.
I said next year, right? I think they join us, right? They'll be in the division.
No, I think they got
2021?
no. It's the following year.
It's the following year.
Yeah, it's the following
Wow,
year.
we have a little bit more of a
19 months
rivalry
or so.
going on with Seattle and Vancouver now, something like that. That's going to be something else.
It will be something, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a little bit more.
I'm not rooting for them. Whatever they choose, we eat it.
Yeah, I know.
Even if it's a Kraken, the orcas eat the squids.
Oh,
Let's start the rivalry now, shall we?
Throw the squids on the ice.
If they
Oh
win
my
a
God.
cup before us, I'll be so pissed off.
Oh, well, Vegas did it the first year, didn't they?
Hey, well, they didn't win the cup.
No, but they got to.
They got to where it was.
Yeah. Where they,
I would not have been
no
happy
team
if
had
they-
done that from the very first start.
I know.
Yeah, and
Well, it wasn't fair.
it wasn't fair because they took some good players from the team.
they got a way better deal than any of the other expansion teams ever got in the
Yes.
NHL.
Yeah.
But and for a while, I must say, back when St. Louis came close as an expansion team to winning the Stanley Cup, but it was actually they got a good deal too. Those early teams about the fact that they at least got to be in the finals.
Yeah.
They didn't have a hope in hell of beating an established team,
No, but that's good for
But
your
they
spirit of your
did get
team.
to be there.
Yes.
But Vegas earned their way there.
Yeah, they did all right.
And to be fair, if your Canucks want to be in first place, they got to earn that.
Yeah.
That's not a title you get easily.
No.
And they're going to have to buckle down and win some games and start playing some playoff hockey. And
Let's see if they heard us tomorrow night.
got Tyler Toffoli today.
Yes.
I think that can help.
Yeah, I've never heard of this guy.
Brock Besser's out for-
LA. He was on LA's LA Kings.
Yep.
Yeah, he apparently just scored a hot trick this weekend in the outside game, the classic game.
I think he's got the potential to be a pretty good player. And Vancouver's got some other good players. It's about who you surround yourself with. It's so much about confidence. I remember I was about 13 years old.
Yeah.
My cousin was here to play, Vancouver Canucks,
Yeah.
Keith Magnuson. And I got to go and meet with him and Cliff Corral and Jimmy Papin and Stan Makita and a few others down at the Hotel Vancouver. And I remember riding up on the elevator with my cousin and these other hockey players. I was just a kid.
No.
But I'd gotten it in my head that the whole key to the whole thing was confidence.
Yes. it's
And I
all
could
about
hardly
confidence.
speak to these players. I was in such awe.
Yeah.
But I remember I got that out of my mouth to Keith, and I said, Keith, to me, confidence is the key. And I think that's all I said was confidence is the key. But it is so
Yeah,
much.
It is.
It is so much.
Yeah, because even as even as we're growing up, we need confidence. I've gained a lot of confidence. I've done a lot better in my life now since I have gained that confidence.
Absolutely.
So it's across everything that you need to have confidence.
Not much good happens without
No,
confidence.
and as you're growing up and a teenager, you don't have that confidence yet because you're learning about the world and stuff. So, yeah, that's a good thing to have is confidence.
Absolutely.
And the team
So-
has confidence, I think.
It's called, and another word for it is momentum when it's
Yeah.
when it's the team that has the confidence.
Yeah.
And you watch it switch back and forth, and it's such an elusive thing. It can switch easy. You need players with really good brains and good strategies about how not to let things get to them and how to turn things the other way and not get that feeling of, oh no, here they come, or oh
Yeah.
no. It's that fear
Yeah.
that really doesn't help very much out there. You need to have that gleam in your eye, that confidence, and then just go.
And that's the human conscience that will have that fear.
That's what separates a lot of the
it's
athletes.
always there, yeah. Landlord, come on.
Back there on social media,
You're on the camera
he's
here,
probably-
you're on the phone there.
He's got thousands in his social media following. He's got to keep
I know,
up to
he's gotta
date
be
there.
talking-
Messaging people, and I'm counting 2 months and 2 days
yeah.
till 420.
Is that what it is?
He's talking to his agent.
Wow. Yeah, 420's coming too.
His agent works for the
I'm collecting.
Blackhawks back there.
I'm collecting rent soon too. All right.
I know.
So we got a couple minutes, Glenn. A little bit about CannaMatch.ca. Tell people what that is and how it's
We've got a
going.
few people join over Valentine's Day.
Of course.
So yes, so it's growing.
In fact, I guess Valentine's Day is a big day for CannaMatch.
Yeah, it was. There
Yeah.
was probably at least 20 people, I think, that joined.
And do you track how many people are using the app?
Yeah, it gives me a whole thing. I got a
Oh,
whole
yeah,
chart
so it's
thing.
spiking
Yeah.
around Valentine's
yeah,
Day.
It goes up and down, up and down.
Looking for somebody
had
to
some
smoke a joint with.
transgender people join too.
Nice.
We've had some couples join. So
Oh, as it should
it's getting
be.
there. Yeah.
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 Oh, it's a great thing. I mean,
Yeah,
for
you
people
wanna just meet
that
somebody
want to
who
meet
smokes
somebody
pot,
else who
you know,
likes
go to CannaMatch.
let's say sacred herb.
If you want to meet somebody and fall in love, go to CannaMatch.ca.
Or if you just want to meet somebody and smoke a joint, you can
Yeah.
go to CannaMatch.ca. It doesn't have to
Nope.
be
And
about that at all. It's just
and if
people
you're
getting together that
traveling,
love the weed.
You could always meet somebody like if you're coming from Vancouver
Yeah.
to Toronto, reach out to somebody in Toronto.
Be a
Hey,
good,
I'm
great
from
way to
Vancouver.
hook up. You know,
Yeah.
if you don't have a hookup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meet new friends.
Oh, we
Check
just
it out.
we just we're just
I
sparking.
thought you would have already, Steve. I
know.
really thought you would have.
I'm on Landlord Indian Standard Time. I'm like a year behind.
Here, take this from me. Whole bunch of light
My
bulbs.
brothers are roadblocking Canada right now. Sorry. 15 roadblocks across Canada.
I think we should get people together like these gaslight and oil people are getting together. It's like, we're talking
there's
about
sort of similar issues going on about freedom
sick
and-
children and sick people, and
Yeah.
the little lady who needs her CBD, and there's kids out there that need THC for seizures and stuff like that, and the government's
an alternate fuel.
and
hemp
it's
is
an
an
alternate fuel.
absolutely.
And, cannabis will help these children. The
It's all
government
very
is taking this
entwined.
trying to make us buy their shit.
Yeah.
Right, and this is supposed to help kids get better. Like, we got to really get together, man. I'm sure Canadians care about other human lives than just a gas line and a pipeline.
That's what it is to be a Canadian.
Because it's a human life, man. Like, really.
I thought the RCMP cared about people, but it shows differently now.
Yeah, they're just order takers. That's all.
Yeah, they're
And,
just doing their job.
and they're so
That's the guy
for the
said on the
government.
video
yeah,
today.
and puppets willing to do dirty work. They're it's really quite offensive to me that they would be like that. They should deny such tasks, such
Yeah.
job descriptions, and stand up for the people. This is just wrong. I can't. I don't want to get going.
I do have some good
having
news.
a-
I heard that Doug and Michelle will be open tomorrow.
I heard that too. Yeah.
Yep. So.
And good for them. And
Yep.
shame on the CSU and
They're
John
doing the same thing
Horgan
as
and
Victoria
the whole
did. They opened
legalization
up the
thing.
next day.
Man, I'm so upset about that. We got money to spend shutting down medical dispensaries. Do we? Do we?
I know.
Yeah,
right?
really?
Yeah, how many poor
Yeah?
can we feed, right?
I don't consent to
How much
that.
housing could we
I'm going to start withholding tax dollars because I don't like what they're spending it on.
Don't pay
This
your
is really
taxes.
disgusting.
I'm an Indian.
They're going to pay the RCMP to do what they're doing to the protesters. They're going to pay to have the RCMP go and do what they're doing, shutting down S&M and the other just...
We should
Screw
make
that.
This 420 event in Vancouver one of the biggest.
Should be the biggest, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things where we can protest about this.
And a good time to have it because we
Yeah.
got lots to say about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Lots to say.
I'd like to see us.
I'm going to be there. You're going to be there.
I'm gonna be there.
We'll be
Yeah,
there.
the landlord's going to be there.
Grand Marshal.
We need everybody to be there. Support
Yeah.
us as
Wherever
much as
you are,
support
get
the other
out and
protests
have a
that are going on.
420 and use it to protest these bad laws.
Yeah.
Celebrate the culture, protest the laws. It's a protestable, and it needs to go
Pierre
on everywhere.
Trudeau, we invent, or is it Pierre? No, Justin.
Well,
sorry.
he's the one. Pierre's the one that planted the seed.
Yeah.
Pierre's the one who
Justin,
planted the
we
seed.
invite
This
you
is
to
the
come on
seed
down and
of
smoke
Pierre.
with us and talk with us. If you're meeting all these people doing
He's
the
a bad
protest-
seed,
Yeah,
Pierre.
Let's sit
He's
down.
a bad seed. All right, thanks, guys.
Talk, man.
That was beautiful. We'll
All
do
right.
this again soon,
Yeah, we'll
as
see
we
you
always
next
do.
week.
Much love.
Thanks, landlord.
Thanks for
All right, I
dropping
think
in.
we have a video that we're
Yeah.
going to right away here to start our.
Do you want to step out, sir? or-
Well,
You okay being in here?
yeah.
Okay. Cool. Hello.
How can I help you?
Well, my name is Ted Smith, and I've come over from Victoria with this Valentine. I know Hedy Fry's not likely to be here, but I would like to.
The disgusting fight against medical cannabis users, medical cannabis patients, continues. It is another dark day for the governments of Canada as they continue to abuse our people and our tax dollars in an attempt to protect the financial interests of a government monopoly that has no business in being there whatsoever. This is just one of a whole bunch of dispensaries that have been shut down like this. This isn't anything new. This has been going on since they decided to legalize and operate their protection racket by shutting down all of the competition. And that means the medical cannabis dispensaries, even though this monopoly of theirs is on so-called recreational cannabis, which they don't think is medical. And in fact, the way they present the cannabis, I don't think it's very medical either. But recreation is certainly a medical area, a medical field of recreation, and certainly preventative medicine is part of why you recreate yourself after a hard day's work or a stressful period in your life or whenever you decide to recreate. But there's no medical value in any of the cannabis that's being sold from these government stores. They don't have high-dose edibles. The edibles that they have that are capped at 10 milligrams and surrounded by all of the chocolate and candy and stuff or whatever they're putting it in the drinks or whatever is not of any medical value at 10 milligrams. It's really not going to help anybody who's a daily user or someone who uses it for medical reasons. These people use hundreds and thousands of milligrams per dose to help them with their conditions. These stores are not medical, and yet here we have our government shutting down the medical dispensaries because they compete with these non-medical government stores in ways that they can't handle, and they think it's okay to waste our money and threaten people with guns and cages to shut them down and stop them from competing unfairly in their view. They're a bunch of gangsters. They're a bunch of crooks. This is wrong. It's really hurting people in profound ways, and that's the very definition of a crime. And so, yeah, another dark day for Canada. This segment that we have in this show every time is dedicated to Jerry Martin and his dispensary that he had in Saskatchewan that suffered a similar fate about over 3 years ago now, that they went in there and shut him down to pave the way for government stores that aren't even in that town, but still they shut him down. And since that time, he's been facing over 40 court appearances. He still hasn't had his day in court. And we're following that case that he's launched a constitutional challenge that people need access to cannabis for medical purposes through storefronts, that the online access eliminates a lot of people that really need it that can't get access through the online stores. And so he's launched a constitutional challenge to challenge that. And he is very gracious in giving us his time and joining us on the show for this segment every week and updating us on where he's at. And we also explore a little bit about what else is going on out there with the pursuit through the courts for access to medical cannabis. So, Jerry, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Not happy again. I'm always not happy, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I look happy. I try to focus on things that make me happy.
Yeah, I hear you.
But I have to do that because the core of my being is wrapped around this unhappiness that I have going on about this, this world that we live in with these public servants that are really the servants of these corporate bastards. And now it's really, really exposing itself as they try to take over the whole cannabis industry and wipe out the medical cannabis access. Anything new going on in your case?
Not really. I haven't heard much more. We're just waiting on the Pat's case, I believe, to be moved up to High Court, and then we can join the three of them into one big case.
I've been told that Pat was hit with a publication ban of some sort. I'm not sure what that means. Means he can't talk about it. I'm pretty sure of that, and he hasn't talked to me about that and he was going to and should be able to, but he can't. So there's just another, what are they trying to hide? We'll wait and see. But, yeah.
They tried that with me. I don't think there is a publication ban on me. Is that the same case? He's got like 3 going on.
I don't know which one. I haven't been able to talk to him since, since his last court date. He went to court last Wednesday, and since then he's been silent. So we'll wait and see what happens on that. These other ones are all kind of in limbo at this point as well. The other cases with Hedy Chartrand going on and with Sarah. Yeah. And we'll see. And this is purposeful too, that they don't get to these things in a speedy manner. They want to continue to capitalize the way that they have been. And they're not anxious to get anybody in court. They probably don't want you in there, Jerry.
No, they don't.
What would you say to them if you got in front of a judge?
Put me on the stand, so.
Yeah? What are you going to tell them?
What am I going to tell them? The way it is. That's what I'm going to tell them.
You got to tell them what?
The way it is.
The way it is, yeah.
Simple facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you can articulate that. It's a lot to articulate. because I mean I've been wrapping my brain around it for quite a while with you here. 1,000 people were coming to your dispensary.
It's pretty simple to articulate. People were sick. People needed the products, and I did what
Lots
I
of
needed
them.
to do, and lots of them, and I brought it to them.
Yeah.
And from those profits, when there was some, that went back to the community and the poor. The majority of it. So I think it was a great business model. And it was also a great benefit to the community and to those living in and around the community.
Yeah, it makes no sense, eh?
No,
it
not
makes
at
no
all.
sense.
Because now there's a bunch of meth houses there, I'm not saying that it's just probably, but at least they would have had an option then. And some advice about certain drugs. I don't believe they get that there at all, unless you're up until high school, and then you're out of high school and those people are left on their own to fend for themselves. So very little
It
education.
absolutely makes zero sense. The information is easy to find. Places that have medical cannabis dispensaries have less of the opioid use, they have less of the hard drug use, they have less crime. The cost to the community of people who use medical cannabis dispensaries is considerably less than for those people that don't have access. There's all kinds of anecdotal stories about people using less pharmaceutical because of the ability to have medical cannabis. There is no victims. It's not like we have a scourge of cannabis victims that are, lining our hospital hallways because cannabis is harming them, and we got to stop people from selling it. There's no victims. It's the opposite. I mean,
Our single complaint in 4 years.
Willful blindness, criminal negligence, ignorance is not an escape from a crime. And our politicians are trying to just pretend that they just don't know that,
I asked the police that. I said, you have a moral upstanding to do what's right, even if the law says one thing.
Right.
And his answer was, it's not that easy. It's kind of complicated.
Yeah.
I said, no, it's not. You want your paycheck.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what uncomplicates things.
That's the main basis for his opinion.
Yeah.
Is he's got a paycheck that's
And plus
coming
he's got all
because
his
of
other
that.
gang members
His
that he doesn't want to,
support of that basis is that, you elected in this government or these governments, and that's what these governments did, and they, so you got what you voted for. That's what they've told me so many times.
Yeah.
These people,
Yeah.
and this is not what the Canadian people want. Canadian people do not want those fucking bully cops shutting down that medical dispensary in Gibson's today.
See the lineup of them?
It's so hard for me to even look at this. It's like history is not going to be kind to these people.
No.
Those images we saw, the video of those cops standing there outside of a medical dispensary with citizens yelling obscenities at them and standing there like, hey, I'm getting a paycheck and, I don't care.
Stealing all your shit and getting a new boat.
Yeah. I'm allowed to do this because I got a badge, I'm wearing a uniform, I got a boss who tells me to, and, fuck that. That cop should be throwing his badge on the ground and walking away. All of them should.
Yeah. Saying we don't want to do this anymore to people.
It's gotten really,
one of
really...
them's got to have a relative that uses cannabis.
Oh, all of them do. All of them have
Especially
to have...
out here in BC.
I suspect every single police officer has family that's using cannabis, that's using it medicinally in some cases, but people that they should be arresting based on, what their job is. How do they not arrest those people? But more realistically, how do they sit at family dinner tables with those people?
Maybe they're
how
not
do they
invited.
sit there? Yeah, maybe they're not. In many cases, they're not. Except lots of times they got the best weed.
I guess so they all appreciate
especially in
it.
rural communities, it's the cops that have the best
I remember
weed.
being a kid out here and hey, we just come right to our friggin' bush parties or in the parks or whatever, and they never us. They just take all
They just
our
take the
beer
weed.
and our weed and don't do that again.
Yeah, I know. What a gang of bullies.
That's what
Just
it is.
disgusting.
Just a bunch of bullies. Right?
Gang of fucking bullies wearing their colors and thinking they're better than people.
Yeah, stealing your shit.
Oh, it's disgusting times, Jerry. Holy shit.
Yeah.
But I still think we're winning. I think that every time they do something like this, they just expose
I haven't
themselves
seen
more
a cop
and more.
save a cat out of a tree in a long time.
Yeah. help an old lady across the street or something, you know. They'll help her across the street, but then they smell weed and start searching her bag by the time they get to the other side. And then the lady hitting them with a broom, hitting her with the umbrella. It's just disgusting. You know, they've got they arrested this fellow from the Trees dispensaries in Victoria. $1.5 million fine now.
Was that him from Trees?
Yeah. 1.5. He was just a manager.
Yeah.
He was just a man. He didn't own the place.
Yeah.
He wasn't, lining his bank account by, selling weed. And they're not trying to be illegal. They were trying to be legal. They're trying to do things right. They were trying to do things for the patient.
I think I'd fight that ticket.
Well, he's got 30 days to decide whether or not to fight it.
Yeah.
As they all put these time limits on there.
Right.
If he decides to fight it, then he's got to face the guy that decided on what the fine was in the first place.
Yeah.
If he decides not to fight it, they'll even give him a little incentive. They'll grease it a little bit. He'll only have to pay half of that $1.5 million if he decides to pay it. Yeah, they'll give him a 50%.
Wow,
they're very generous people. They're very generous people.
So they're only going to get $750.
They care about you,
Yeah.
So yeah,
10 people's lifetimes earning.
yeah. So he's not feeling very stable right now. He's feeling a little nervous. Doesn't have the $750,000.
$750,000.
Certainly doesn't have the $1.5 million.
Yeah.
Certainly feels like he has to fight it because it's certainly not right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, eh? Oh my God. Just at some point, somebody somehow is going to get this before a judge, and a judge is going to say, "This is a blatant protection racket."
I think the cop just wanted some headlines.
In your case, or
no, in his case.
In this case,
he gets to write out $1.5 million.
Oh, you mean the CSU? Do we even call him a cop? I guess.
Oh, I don't know. Was it a particular officer, or was it the group that gave it to him?
I think it's whoever is heading up the CSU.
What do they call that? A plaza with the cartels? They got the plazas, so they'd be like a plaza, right?
Their plaza.
Yeah, the division of the cartel.
I want to phone them again. I phoned them a couple times already. They probably took down my phone number. Do I care? I don't think I care. Yeah. Like, come and talk to me about it. I'm going to arrest me for telling them they're wrong. Holy shit.
It's a shame.
It is a real shame. We had a big protest against the Victoria Buyers Club being raided that Ted Smith started, and that was pretty good too. So we were at Hedy Fry's office on Friday, and a whole bunch of us down there. A very busy sidewalk, very busy street of cars moving very slowly. So a lot of pretty good signage, good amplification of our message, and a couple hours of blasting away Ted Smith and Dana Larson.
It was just a little too late by the time I seen it.
Well, it was good, and we're going to do more of that. Ted's doing more of that, and that's one of the things we need to do. And even without having an event, a little house party protest at these offices, people can go down to these offices and demand that the politician that occupies that office does something about this, because this is really, really wrong. And anyway, we got a video of that coming up, and I guess we'll play that video, and then we'll go to our interview. So thanks, Jerry, for coming down.
Sure, we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks to Lee for the RSO pulled my shoulder out.
I see. Very nice. Very cool. Anybody else?
Opinion, because the public has agreed basically to legalize cannabis, and we're doing that. Unfortunately, though, the public has been duped as to why and how this has been done. The public was told that they were doing it to protect children, when in fact it is all about the money. Right. And what we've seen with legalization has not been an inclusion of the formerly known black market, what we like to call the gray market or the green market.
The legacy market.
The legacy market. Legalization was announced. We'd all hoped that would be the case, that this $5-6 billion industry in Canada would be given licenses to be able to do their work. Because the majority of people that were working in the cannabis industry were only doing that. They weren't involved in other crimes. It's a heat score to do other crimes, And so for the majority of people, they would have been more than happy to switch their dispensaries or their grow ops or their distribution chains or their chocolate companies to the legal system. However, instead of doing that, our government's decided that legalization should be a complete corporate takeover and that a completely new supply chain should be created to and remove the black market so that they could then count all the dollars from top to bottom and control the economy of cannabis as much as possible. But it's been a complete and utter failure to the point where not only is the former legacy market struggling and many people being put out of business. In Victoria, we had over 40 dispensaries 2 years ago, selling hundreds of locally made products. With products coming from across the country. But the BC legacy market that John Horgan and company would like to say is important to them has been virtually demolished by this legal system, except for the fact that these greedy people have kept the prices the same on in the storefronts, if not higher, actually dramatically higher, to the point where there's a lot of money still to be made in the legacy industry, though the risk is much higher. And so, instead of including the legacy market, we've got now, twice as many producers, twice as many distributors trying to sell to virtually the same number of people, and everybody is hurting. The legal cannabis companies on the stock market have lost a value of approximately $33 billion in the last year. Now that $33 billion didn't just disappear somewhere. That $33 billion that was lost by average Canadian workers thinking that they're putting some money into a Canadian cannabis company have got suckered by these entrepreneurs that set up businesses and hypervaluated them far more than they were worth so they could sell shares in order to profit off businesses that lose billions of dollars or millions every quarter, and many of them will go bankrupt within the next year because of responsibilities. They're laying off staff now. Problems, but it's too little too late. They've built these massive farms that are completely inadequate to grow high quality medicine and producing far more low grade cannabis that are then being put into systems that delay the sale to the market so long that it's really old and low grade in these overly packaged products that are just completely inadequate for recreational users compared to what they were using with the legacy market. And I could go on for a long time about the problems of the recreational scene and all the money being made. But honestly, to us at the Cannabis Buyers Club, those are the least of our concerns.
Yeah, so, they're starting to upset more and more people. I hope you people are also being quite upset by what's going on here. But the denying of a helpful medicine to people is one of the most atrocious things I can imagine. What kind of a scumbag does that? And now I'm talking about the Prime Minister on down to all these provinces and the municipalities and all of the police forces that are involved. You're all scumbags, and you should stop what you're doing. It's time to end the lies and tell the truth. Apologize, because cannabis should never have been prohibited in the first place. It should never have had the criminal law used to keep people from accessing or distributing it. And an apology is more than deserved. And it's time to stop this bullshit and stop using our money to keep people that are sick from getting a herb that helps them to protect fucking pharmaceutical interests and government monopolies. It is really heinously wrong, and it needs to stop. In any case, there's a bunch of people that have been involved in this for a long time. This prohibitions and the restricted access has hurt so many people for so long. There's a number of people like myself that have been trying to do something about it for a long time. And one of the people that has been fighting this fight is a good friend of ours at Pot TV. and has quite a story that got him to be here and has done amazing things in furthering the ability of people to access cannabis. And without much further ado, I want to introduce Johnny B. You all know him if you're a follower of Pot TV. And for those who don't, he's a grower extraordinaire, an entrepreneur extraordinaire, an activist extraordinaire. And I want to find out all about him, and I want to help you guys find out all about him. So without any further ado, as always, Johnny B., how are you? Thank you so much for coming and joining me on the show.
Mad respect. Thanks for all the shout-outs and just being
you earned it.
Just being you, my friend. You know what? You too, from the amount of dedication, from all the protests we've shared together over the years, over the last decade, from let's even go back into like 2005, 2006, and the late 90s, early 2000s. Like,
I think that's about $50 worth. I'll, thanks, Johnny. This is about you. This is not about me. I want to know how you got to be who you are and got to be sitting on that seat there. Where are you from originally?
I grew up in Anmore, just outside of Port Moody, on the top of the mountains.
Oh, I see.
I originally was born in Toronto.
Okay. So when did you come here then?
I was 3 years old.
3 years old.
Yeah, 3 years old.
So you're a local boy to the Metro Vancouver area.
I'm a local boy.
Right?
Got a motorcycle when I was 3 with training wheels, or I was 5, little Indian 50.
Went to school out there, went to high school. Did you smoke weed in high school?
100%, grade 7, that's when I got caught.
Grade 7 is when you got caught. When did you start?
Probably grade 6.
Grade 6? Okay, that's pretty young.
And the funny thing was, you couldn't
So you're 13,
roll
I guess?
back then at all, 0, right? I had no idea. I was way too young to how to roll.
How to roll?
And the funny thing is I'm going to throw Anthony and Christy out there because they might even know they might watch this one. These are some really old school friends, and we're going back in grade 5, grade 6. And Anthony's dad had these plants growing outside. And he was smoking them, and we're like, wow, what's this? So we actually grabbed some of the leaves of it. They weren't buds, they were leaves, and we dried those leaves out underneath the heat lamp because we had chicken farm, and we had rabbits and stuff like that, so we had the heat lamps to dry out the leaves. And we had this bamboo that grew everywhere. So we dried it out, and we actually put a little thing on the end of it. And
made a pipe.
Oh
nice.
My God, we sit there and fall over, and and
laughing, and
well, that was the start.
I see.
Never looked back after that.
You were a typical teenage pothead, basically, growing up in Metro Vancouver.
So here's the whole thing. So I was a typically teenage kid, but the people around me were on Ritalin and other pharmaceutical drugs. Those are the ones who didn't smoke weed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now that I'm older, I was like, you know what? I was self-medicating the whole time.
For sure.
But
and so you grew up and finished high school and got a life and got a job. Did you consider cannabis medicine before your injury and all that we're going to talk about next?
Well, you know what? I mean, I always used cannabis recreationally all through high school and growing up.
Which means you didn't really consider it medicine. You were just getting high and having fun and you liked it, that sort of thing, right? Right. So, and then you're working on a job site and you have an injury.
Yeah, it was 2005. It was June 23rd, 2005. I made a wrong step. And I
so you fell
out the back of a Genie 2000 scissor lift.
Right.
Where the gate was up, and they figured that I hit my head on the back, and then free fell unconscious and hit my head on the second floor. Concrete.
Right.
Second floor of the concrete, and this is just an open slab because they're putting the windows in, so there's nothing there.
Right.
So when I hit my head on the concrete on the second floor, when I fell from the scissor lift, I landed on the second floor, hit my head about 2-3 feet, and then free fell unconscious and landed on my right side, shattering my arm, breaking my hip, shattering my teeth, breaking my ankle.
Wow.
Breaking my neck in 4 places. So I had
lucky to be alive, actually.
Extremely lucky. I got a second chance at life. I will honestly say that.
But you were in the hospital for a long time.
Not that long.
Not that long? How long?
No, I had plants growing in my house, so I had to get out, right? They were begging me to stay there, so 2.5 weeks later.
So you were already growing for yourself?
I was already growing. I've been growing for years.
I see. For years before that as well.
So now you look at this. Now I fell when I was 33 years old.
Right.
let's stay back to me selling weed at Newark SkyTrain Station when I was 16 years old back in 1988 now. So that's to reverse this whole thing. So I've been involved in marijuana my whole life. So from growing up in group homes or when I was at, all this stuff, using cannabis, and I was selling it, because that was like my livelihood when I was between like 18 and 20, and between getting out of high school and in high school and having a few pagers and, getting the bags of weed for $200 and flogging them to my friends for $3.20.
Yeah.
Or $15 a gram straight up, 45 an eighth, 80 a quarter, 160 a half, 300 an ounce.
Wow.
Man, we got our education in math back then like you wouldn't believe. I can pretty much give those numbers at the top of my head.
Yeah. So you had quite a relationship with cannabis, but the injury really helped you to see it as
well, the thing was, is when I got out of the hospital, and when I came to in the hospital, I started eating hash right away.
Right. For the pain?
That's what I wanted, yeah. It's funny, when I came to in the hospital, I had a joint. And someone had left it there, and I lit it up in intensive care. They almost cooked me out of the hospital.
Right.
And all the machines behind me full of gases, I could have blew up the whole ward.
Right.
The nurse got up and left. I had a nurse right beside me that stood right beside me 24/7 for those first 2 weeks of me and being in the hospispittal. I was critically injured.
Right.
It was a big deal, and to me, it was like, oh, I'm fine. Just give me some hash, I'll be okay. So it's funny when you take a look at what I used back in 2005 after my fall. Is a couple days after, even the day before, I had already been eating hash, already ate edibles, stuff like that, because I was a frequent user of the BC Compassion Club Society, and I was getting beautiful brownies from Paul Hunt, made by Dr. Paul Hornby.
I see.
So let's back up and talk about decarboxylating, and back up to before, because I initially got injured in 1991. I was hit head on by a dump truck.
So cannabis was medicine for that then, since back
and then in
for you.
2006, when I was working, I tore the ligaments in my spine. They immediately put me on OxyContin. I got off of the OxyContin between 2006 and 1990. Here's all these dates of how things and injuries, and where cannabis was always led back to getting me off or helping with my pain.
So I guess I should say, when was the first time that you really realized that cannabis was a valuable medicine, more than just something?
Coming off of the methadone.
Coming off of
methadone that I was put on because of the pharmaceutical drugs I was on due to the car accident I was in. So they put me on pharmaceuticals.
Right.
And then they put me on the methadone to wean off the pharma.
So this was back in 1999?
1991.
91,
because in 88 I was hit on by a dump truck. So I dealt with
commercial. So you've been using cannabis as medicine from that point on, growing for yourself, understanding the value of it to some degree.
I've been growing since the early 90s, yes.
And then that injury in 2005, the bad one.
That's when I really became that beautiful brownie that Paul Hunt baked. It took my pain away.
Right.
Like nothing else did. I was on heavy opiates. Not just a little. We're talking 280 milligrams a day of OxyContin, morphine, superdols, fast-acting 10s, little blues 5s to break through pain. My pharmaceutical drugs were $1,488 a month.
Wow.
And a simple
and
brownie
would take away
for
the
$5 took
right.
my pain away.
Right.
The funny thing is WorkSafe BC, another organization we're fighting to have cannabis covered for, would not pay for my weed, but they'd pay for the $50 cab ride from Surrey to go to the BCCS to supposedly pick up my medicine and drive me back.
Right.
$100 a week in cab fare so I could go down and pick up my supposed medicine.
But they wouldn't pay for the medicine.
But they would not pay for the medicine. And I still have it in BC Supreme Court. And actually last month it was finally kicked back as incomplete. And that's after 8
you're
years.
Still going after this.
Now they told me to hire a lawyer, and it's past those due dates that when they kicked it back, it's now round dead. So I can't do nothing about it anymore.
Wow.
So that was a 15-year fight.
It led for you to have quite the battle with the WCB or WorkSafe. I guess they reinvented.
It went from Workman's Compensation Board to WorkSafe BC to Workman's
And you were back and forth fighting them, and you won some pretty good decisions.
21 appeals.
21 appeals.
21 appeals. 4 WCAT decisions.
When you say 21 appeals, I mean you were appealing the decisions, or they were appealing?
There was 20. I appealed them 21 times.
You appealed them
21 times.
Wow.
I appealed their decision. Lost most.
But you did win some good things.
I won 3 majors in WCAT, but I lost the final one for having cannabis coverage, so I went to BC Supreme Court. That was in 2013. On March 31st is when I had to file. I had my deadline of 90 days, and I filed everything myself. And then I finally kept waiting, and I made some phone calls, and I went down to the Chilliwack courthouse about 2 months ago, and they said it was filed as incomplete, and they kicked it back, but they didn't tell me that. They told me that 5 years later.
Oh man, that's one of their typical tactics as well.
So
is there still stuff before the courts then for you?
It's done.
It's done.
It's
So, when did you start making videos about growing weed then?
Well, the funny thing was, it's really, really funny, is some of the first videos of me growing weed weren't on my channel. They were on Cannabis in Canada channel, Jason Wilcox, and how to grow, how to build a medical growing room. It was one of his more viewers. You'll see that. That's my whole room.
Right.
So I was trying to always getting people to grow their own, because that was my big thing with WCB. I had a medical section in P&W, Pacific Northwest Garden Supplies. Right. Green Planet Nutrients funded me to be my back to work program as a medical advisor, medical cannabis advocator. And you know, I started growing, and I started doing these videos because I was growing before. But I was always growing for myself. I was never really growing for money. I always had plants. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've always been a grower, but every time I traded money from weed, it fucked me in the ass. So I stopped doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
at the age of 18, I'm like, okay, ain't getting me nowhere. I keep trying to do these crops, and I'm like, so you know what?
And your target has been people that want to grow for themselves.
Grow
you
for
want
themselves.
to help
I was
them
helping
do that.
injured workers. I was going around. I was having injured workers meeting Dr. Ferris, Dr. Faye. I had all these different doctors, and I was getting people licensed to help them grow them because it was helping me so much.
Right.
That was at that time of the advantage of people taking advantage of licenses.
And you made how many videos since then?
300.
300.
25 million views.
So for people that are just starting to, like, they want to grow, they haven't grown before, they've got themselves a tent, they've got themselves a dozen seeds, what video of yours should they watch?
How to grow from seed.
How to grow from seed, and you
Yeah.
can find that on
It had
YouTube.
5.2 million views, but YouTube ripped it down, so I've since reloaded it up again, so it's on my main channel.
So it's on your channel on YouTube.
It's how to grow from seed. And it's a great video on just starting from paper towel method, from putting it into a cup and giving the drop until the seed sinks to the bottom. Then paper towel method till you see the rooted, till you see a little taproot coming out the bottom.
Right.
Putting that into the soil and making
Very
sure the
carefully,
seed
of
comes
course.
up. Right.
Yeah.
Do it just a little sprinkle of water with a paper towel, so don't overwater. And then those little steps, and then starting to root. And it's a great video because why? Because I just love cannabis so much, and people see the passion in that video. Like, look at how passionate that guy is. Like, that guy just loves weed.
and watching it grow. Like, there's something very therapeutic about actually watching.
Well, the whole thing
cannabis
was
grow,
is as the seed would grow, it was helping me grow from my injuries. It was a big part of me growing, and I talk about that I do my Instagram videos in the morning on how to grow your life, grow from seed. I give away a free seed in the morning, ask a growing question for my elite little thing. So I'm giving away 42 seeds over the next 42 days.
I see.
I'm having fun, right? Because you know, it's like people can grow their own,
Right.
and that's what cannabis did for me. It helped me grow. Not only did I grow the plant for my medicine, it helped me grow into who I am today.
Right.
It helped me grow well.
And do you grow indoor, outdoor, both?
I grow both, but indoor is my.
What do you think is the ideal way?
I like indoor because I can manage it and I can maintain it.
What about a hybrid greenhouse?
Well, like I said, I've done outdoors quite a bit, and I can tell you one thing right now: I can control an indoor growing a lot better, and I can control my medicine better. A lot of people like the outdoor resin.
A little more expensive with electricity.
Depending, because with LED lights these days, electricity isn't really that much.
Oh.
Technology's completely changed.
So
So
LED
now I can
lights
buy
is-
a bulb that I bought in 2013 that's still running in 2020, but yet if I run my Gavitas, I gotta change the bulb every second crop. So
I see. And then once you've grown weed, you've gotten pretty good at extracting, and you got some good videos on that. Is there any particular video on extracting from cannabis?
diamonds and gold from bags of swag.
Diamonds and gold from bags and swag.
Yeah, that one's got
Also
about
on
a
your
500,000 views, and it's just like everybody's got that swaggy weed they got sitting around.
Right.
And there's some diamonds and gold inside of those swaggy bags of weed. It's just
Right.
kind of like mining for gold.
Right.
You got the same thing with all those shitty bags of weed you got laying around your house.
Right?
Because all you just want is that trichome. You just want that medicine. You don't need all that shitty old dried out cardboard that's on there. So you gotta separate that.
Right.
And with that, you get some diamonds and gold, my friend.
So what's a good way of extracting for people that haven't done it before?
Well, heat and pressure works really well. You can usually use a curling iron. I mean, a hair straightener. Right? If you have some fresh bud. But if you have some really dry or straight weed, then you're going to want to get screens. So you're going to want to get like a 110 mesh count and a 200 mesh count. So this is going to cost you some money.
So you're trying to siphon off the resin glands.
You're trying to sift or sieve.
Right. So separate the resin glands from the rest of the plant matter and then have it go down through the screen, and then capture it like that.
And then you can actually then clean it once again through static sifting, through a static clean, like using like a DVD and parchment paper. I have those on there, and static dry sifting.
And then you would press it together if you want.
Yeah, you could if you want. If you get to that meltiness, and if you got some good real resin heads, it's really sticky and it's really gooey and it's really sweet.
I see. I can tell you like extracts. Do you dab much?
Every day.
What's your favorite to dab?
Well, that would be the stuff in my bucket. I see Neil smiling. He's like,
I always smile. I'm smiling because I smoked so much weed on the show already today.
There you go. So that would be a 90 maker on hash rosin. So that would be bubble hash squished with heat and pressure. Smell that, Neil.
So did you grow this too?
No, I did not.
Oh, that is beautiful. If this was April 1st, I'd let the audience have a sniff of it, because by that time I'm sure we're going to have smell-o-vision installed here, right? For a pot TV network, smell-o-vision would be awesome. Awesome, man, oh man.
Yeah.
Technology's not there yet.
It's coming.
Man, that's nice. What am I smelling there?
So this is what we call the motor mouth. So it's just a strain I picked up from a friend of mine. He's heavily dazed, but he's got some killer.
So those are terpenes mostly that I'm inhaling there, I would imagine.
Well, that would be the hash, and of course, because of the water activity, and that's around the 58 mark, so the terpenes are just perfect.
So what are terpenes for people who don't know?
Well, aromatherapy. So let's get into
lots of plants have terpenes.
We can get into so much when we get into terpenes, but I mean it's pretty much the oldest thing that we have in history from when we go back into even to the Wiccan days, and they talk about witches and all that. They all used aromatherapies. They all used different incense and oils, and these and then the gland head are different fragrances and oils and different terpenes for myrcenes and different flavonoids and flavonoids that help with different modulate pain, modulate THC, that actually help with different conditions. That's why we always say different strains for different pains, because just like anything else, there's going to be that one smell or that one terpene that's going to really light your fire.
Are they fragile?
They get to a certain point where if there isn't enough water maintaining them, they dry out, and that monolayer, like a saran wrap, dries over, and then you'll never get that back. So they're very fragile.
You can't get that back.
You can't get that back. So once we get into, say, a water activity of 55, which is the amount of water that's inside of a container to keep something fresh. I'm good, Neil. Yeah, to keep something fresh. So we're looking at, I have mine one right here.
You don't have a Gibson toker though.
No, I like Gibson. He's really cool. I like the Gibson tokers. They're great because they're great for safe sharing, and I really promote safe sharing.
I love glass. Glass is really cool. It allows me to smoke the joint right down to the very end, and I like the last few puffs of the joint.
There's more THC in the last little bit of the roach.
They do break sometimes, I had the one that I was using on the show here hit the deck and broke. Gibson says he's going to give me one that doesn't break as easy. But this is kind of a testament to them, because even though it's broken, I'd still rather use a broken Gibson toker than no toker at all, for sure. So it's still good.
There you go.
So when government weed dries up, that's it for those terpenes, eh?
Well, people try to rehydrate them, but you're never going to get back. It's like a raisin.
So you got some rehydration stuff with you here.
Here you go.
Tell me about that a little bit.
Boveda is a 2-way humidity pack.
Oh, that's all for me?
Yep. You can have the whole box if you want
I can have the whole box.
There you go.
All right. I know people who would like to have some of those. These are really good. And these are the Boveda packs. You can see that there, I think. Well, if I won't move the right way, you can see it.
So 62% is the relative humidity that we look at. Well, water activity, because that's the RH. That keeps cannabis fresh. So if you want to get a true experience. And I go around to a lot of the legal places and I give these away for free because the cannabis is so dry. And once you get it past that point, you're not getting a true experience, I say.
But
So
you're
with
still not
this-
going to get the terpenes back.
Well, you're going to get them some back, but you're not going to get that sweet spot after that monolayer is dried out, right?
Okay, well, it's good to know you can get some back. That's one of the things you've been involved with. The one that you're most famous for would be Medtainer. So, did you bring a Medtainer with you? There you go. A jumbo.
The new jumbo. I'm calling it my travel coffee.
So how did that come to be? I mean, I guess first off, it's waterproof. It's a grinder.
Airtight, watertight, storage container, built-in grinder.
Yeah. And you started putting those together a long time ago now, right?
So I brought it to market. So when I went to Amsterdam in 2012, I met a gentleman by the name of Kurt Fairbrother and his son Shane. And they had found this product. And I'm like, well, for me, I was Medi 1, Medi Kush, and I was like, Medtainer, medicine on the go the green way. This is awesome. I would like to bring this to Canada. And he's like, well, we would like you to bring it to Canada. I'm like, sweet. And on a handshake, I said, well, here, let's do a deal. Let me take Medtainer around the world. Medicine on the go the green way. Because I always say I was going to take cannabis around the world, and I was going to do it with my socks, and I was going to walk around the world and educate people on how cannabis had saved my life. Right. And I was talking on stage with Dr. Hornby. I had won the first place at TY for my medicine, Medi Kush, for a medical patient growing his own. And when Medtainer came in, I'm like, this is it. This is what's going to be my voice. And it's been 8 years.
And it's allowed you to
this
attend all kinds of events all around the world.
Taken me around the world. I have sponsored so many cannabis events and cups from all of the black market ones, the illegal ones, to everyone you want. So I use this as a voice. And everybody asked me, how do you want to help? I said, buy a Medtainer, support an industry, put your logo on there, and share the love.
Right.
And I think with that, it was kind of empowering. There a couple weeks ago, I was going through cannabis influencers, and I did their top 25 there with Bubble Man and stuff like that, and a few people there, and then I saw this one for top 15, and it was with Steve D'Angelo and Seth Rogen, a bunch of nurses and stuff like that, and then I saw top 10, and my name popped up in there, and that was so empowering to see how much of what I said I was going to do. I said I was going to take it around on my medicine. And in all three of these posts, there was models, and there was like Snoop Dogg, there's all these different people in there, but through all of these three, mine always said for medicine, and for medicine.
Nice.
And to me, that's everything that I screamed about and talked about, and that's all I've ever been preaching, is how cannabis was my medicine, how it got me out of bed, how it gave me a better quality of life, how it was able me to grow into the person I am. And here we are, 2020, and we're still growing. And that's why now everything is about growing. It's about growth, and it's about grow your own and grow your life. And I say grow from seed, and I've been giving away free seed, one seed to help start your growth.
Seeds was the theme of the show today. That's what.
And I think that's kind of nice because I started breeding the seeds from the strains that were helping me back in the late 80s, or the early 90s, mid 2000s, and stuff like that. And kept.
How many Medtainers have been sold? Do you know? Any idea?
Me personally?
Well, just in general. I guess from you personally, I was more like you got it going. There's been lots of imitators. I've seen, knockoffs.
We have
aren't
knockoffs
as
out
good.
there, so if it isn't stamped on the bottom, right there, that doesn't say made in the U.S. on the bottom, patent there, you have a fake, and you're not getting a real Medtainer. You're not supporting the industry. You're supporting Chinese knockoff fakes.
And when I asked the question, I didn't mean the knockoffs. I meant those Medtainers. I mean, and if is there other Medtainers sold out there that aren't through you personally?
No.
Okay, so how many of you personally sold out there then?
Well, I've done over 1 million.
Over 1 million. Wow.
In Canada alone, the U.S. has tripled that.
And the demand isn't slowing down at all. In fact, I would imagine it's speeding up.
It's kind of funny is that people collect them.
Yeah, for sure.
they're so versatile. So you don't just have one for your weed. You have one for your coffee. You have one for your dog pills. You have one for your.
I got one because
garlic.
it lights up my bedroom because you made it luminescent there.
The glow in the dark ones at night. Yeah, I see the toke where you can just reach over. You can see your meditator all night.
No, they're awesome for sure, and they saved my butt so many times too. Because it's a grinder, and it's a damn good grinder. I mean, it's got everything right there. So it's a number of times. I don't know why I don't use it all the time. I think because I use a side bag and it's limited in size, so I have just this small metal grinder that I use.
It's what you used
to.
But
when I don't have that around, I've got one of those in my car. I've got a couple of them in my bedroom. I've got they're there. And I know they're here in the office. When there's not a grinder around, there's one of those around. Of course, there is a grinder around because there's a medtainer there. If there's a medtainer, there's a grinder. And that's what I'm trying to say is it's bailed me out a number of times.
It was good to see that. That's what I said. I said it was going to be a voice for me, a voice of how cannabis had saved my life and what it's done for me. And Paul said that to me back in like 2008. He says, "You just want to tell the world how much cannabis helps you." And you know what? Here I am. It's been 12 years since I got off of all that pharma. And I thank Paul. I thank my father. I thank my people. I thank the cannabis community that really took me in, because it was really cool as how the community who embraces you. You know what I mean? You know? It's the people who truly need help. The cannabis community kind of pulls you in and helps you and shows you that door.
Is there other ventures of yours going on? Or what else are you working on these days?
Well, I have the We Got Your Force, so it's trying to get people to grow their own.
That's
forest.
a website.
That's a website. And I've been really pushing on that, but I find that a lot of people are growing, which is really good to see. I see that a lot now.
Yeah,
I see a lot of people.
It's the right time of year too, isn't it? For outdoor, it's the right time of year.
Outdoors
indoor,
coming in, not
matter.
yet. You want to start your seeds, you want to start germinating, you want to start getting things going because you want to put your plants.
Do you
outside
put any outside?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I always put plants outside in my yard.
Okay, so you grow outside as well. Just take advantage of the season that's there.
Always.
But as far as indoor, it doesn't matter when you start.
I'm always
grow
growing.
anytime you want. I see.
Yeah.
Any tips for people growing outside?
Take your time. Don't overwater.
Don't overwater.
Let Mother Nature take its course. Start from seed.
And by that, you don't mean rabbits and deers.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you mean so hopefully you got a backyard that doesn't have rabbits.
Well, right
and
now
deers.
you got 4 plants. You can grow outdoors. Make sure it's not visible. Put them in some plants. Don't go. Just get them going.
Yeah, and then let Mother Nature do what she does. What can people use for fertilizer? What do you recommend?
I just use one part growing bloom, Medi 1. So that's just a nutrient that I've been using since 2010. It's helped me win Cannabis Cups. It's an organic, comes in one bottle, makes my life easy.
How many Cannabis Cups have you won?
4.
4, and in what categories? What's your?
I won for private grower in 2011. I won first place. For TY in 2012, I won.
TY is Treating Yourself
Expo.
Yeah.
And in 2012, I won second place for private grower for growing his own medicine.
At TY again?
At TY again.
Right.
In 2013, I won third place for the Saskatoon Medical Cannabis Cup for the Chem Dog for Reunion for growing his own medicine.
Shout out to Lum for sure.
Lum is awesome.
Friendly
and then Tim had his Canadian Concentrate Open, and he did that for a 6-month competition, and every month everybody had to come in.
I had the privilege of being the MC for, I think, 8 out of 6 of those.
And Tim kept bugging me to join and to enter, and I says, you know what, Tim? On that last month when you've had all your finalists, I said, I'll come in late and win with dry sift. Well, 2 days before that end, I had no dry sift, and Remo called me and goes, hey, I have like a pound of Congolese here. Do you want to enter and make some sift? I'm like, yours is gonna melt because I already know he's got good weed. I'm like, bring it down.
Right.
So I take that pound
Remo,
of weed,
who also has fertilizer,
and I crush it over screens, and I get like 26 grams of trichomes. He's like, oh, that's more than enough. I'm like, I'm gonna totally clean that. Huh? I'm like, yeah, I'll probably get down to probably about 6 or 7 grams. Honestly, he's like, okay. I didn't clean that once, twice, but 3 times, and I did a static cleaning. So I used a DVD with parchment paper, a horsehair brush, and charged the screens, and I carefully cleaned that, and
that's to get out any impurities.
Now, understand it was cold out. It was in January. I was doing it in a cold room, so I had to make sure I had the AC unit going, so I had to kept it cold, and I cleaned that resin so perfect. I had to put it in a cooler to bring it down here. I got here at like 4:15 and it was over at 4 o'clock. I walked up the stairs and everybody was laughing, and I walked in the back and had it all separated in little things. And I went and gave it to Tim, and I forgot something. So I had to go down to my car. And I went down to my car, and when I came back up, and as I came up the stairs, I could smell the Congolese. So Tim had already given out to everybody. And I could just smell it. I'm like, oh my God, they're smoking it already. And as I walked around the corner where High Score is now, I came around the corner, you could see the puff. People are laughing and giggling, and they're all smoking it. And my thought and my advice is, we won. We won. The smoke clears. The tallies are in. And Tim announces that me and Remo had won first place for the best concentrate with dry sift out of 6 months of pure competition. And at the end of it, Tim goes, "You said you were going to do that, John. You said you're going to come in late with sift and win." And you did. And I would never have done it without the resin from Remo and about the knowledge that I learned from Mez and from Mark and everybody else and that whole thing. And then at that point, you know what? I felt like it was time to hang up my jacket. And people kept asking me to keep entering more cups, but I mean, once you got first, second, or third, and then first again, I mean, how much more do you need, right? So
only got so much space in the apartment.
Only got so much space in the apartment, and now today it's just like I would be afraid to enter a cup. There's so many damn good growers out there.
So what's your favorite concentrate? Do you like the pressed rosin, or do you like the dry sift?
Sift is number one.
Sift is number one.
Yeah.
And there's no chemicals used in that
Nothing.
at all. You're simply taking the buds and
first bounce clean
shaking
sift
off the trichomes or however.
By far the best and cleanest high. You can squish it with heat and pressure. You can wash your hash and you squish it, but I mean, if you got really killer hash, you're not squishing it because it already melts perfectly. Right? So It's about the grower and stuff like that.
And then as for that, it just depends on what strains you're using, obviously, you know, with your concentrates.
There are the certain strains that only melt.
That only melt? What's your favorite strain?
Medi Kush.
Medi Kush. That's been going on for a while.
My medicine.
Hey, that's the one you grow for yourself that works the best for you.
Yeah, it's like even somebody said it's even a pre-96 Bubba. It's before the Bubbas. It's like one of those first strains that.
So do you germinate some, or department, do you fertilize some and collect seeds?
Well, what I did is I did a
all
feminized run of
clones?
the Medi Kush. Medi Kush is only from clone. The original strain, but then I did some cross pollinations and create some other genetics behind it. Medi Lights, my little Medi.
So do you play around with seeds?
Yes,
So
for years.
You do breed different seeds. And
I've been
things?
breeding for 20 years.
Right.
So a lot of those strains out there, the Haas, the My Little Ponies, and the LR Kushes and stuff like that, and those are the strains I created over the years, and they're.
So you've experienced licensed producer weed?
I've tested the hell out of it.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it.
But I've tested it as in water activity.
Walked
not really
in and walked
smoking
out,
it.
but you've really experienced it.
Yeah.
What can you tell the audience or the viewer?
Well, it's not
about,
standardized, and that's what it really comes down to. So what I'm really
corporatized,
looking at in an
standardized,
industry is there's nothing that's consistent. And nothing is when I buy Tweed weed, I can test it at 40% water activity, which is dry, at 46 and 49. So then I asked the shareholders when they lost $150 million in money the first quarter, well, I can contribute 16 to 32 million to that just in evaporation. Because standardization at 55 means you wouldn't lose that 16%. Then we'd have standard cannabis. You have the same kind of terpenes, and you get the same medicinal effects. And that's where I learned that standardization came with. I've been trying to do it with nutrients. I've been trying to do it with decarboxylating. But when it really came down to it at the end, and where I figured it out, is when they put those 15 terpenes underneath my nose after coming out of my surgery in 2016. That one terpene took my pain away from Bubbleman. I really realized how much the terpenes modulated my pain.
Right.
And then controlling that water activity so you don't lose that smell of those fragrances or that medicinal value is critical in order to hold that standardization. So that's what I really believe is that I always say 55 fresh, because if you hold it at 55, you're going to have that same medicinal effects. It ain't going to dry you out. You put fresh cannabis underneath a patient's nose, it lights up. You put some cannabis on your nose that's just bone dry,
Right.
Or if it's soaking wet, you can't smell it because water's going to hold those terpenes in there, so you can't smell it, and it's going to turn it into, right? So
it's not just it's not just about moisture. There's a lot more to what we would call the curing process.
Oh, that's a whole nother lesson.
So tell us a little bit about curing.
That's a whole nother show.
Well, you got a few more minutes. You got to fill the time with something. What's your favorite way to cure?
I hang dry for 2 weeks. I bring down my relative humidity from 85 down to about 68 over a period of time, as with fans that just blow in the bottom, never on the plants. So just light fan in the corner, so you're moving air around in the room, so you don't really have that much movement. You get to a point where after about a 14-day cure, you can actually see the outside of your plants are starting to crisp up. At that point, that would then sweat my room. So most people do this in jars by cutting it off the stalk, but I do it inside of a whole room.
So I mean, it is about moisture.
100% it is.
But it's about a flux, isn't it? I mean, you want to let it.
You have to let it cure.
And that kind of means it's doing a process. Curing is a process that happens inside the plant, given the right conditions. Am I describing that correctly?
Well, the whole thing is you're going to want the trichome to be able to get its natural effects. So it's flavors and like food, like when you cook food or certain foods, you have to get certain flavors. So it's the same with weed. You're going to want those flavors to cure. Like when I won my cannabis cups, they were all three of them were 3-month cures.
So there's
I just
quite
didn't
a
cut
change.
down my weed and put it. No, I cured it in a jar and burped it for 3 months before I entered it. And when people smoked that, they were like, that was by far, they couldn't believe it. Why? Because I was growing my medicine. And in TY, 300 of those people who tested my weed, 250 of them were all patients. Why do you think I won?
And there's quite a difference between when you first put that weed in that jar and at the 3-month later process.
I talked to one guy who said he cured his weed in 3 days. He was smoking it. Come check it out. And I was like, I don't even want to smoke that. What's wrong with you? There's another guy in the audience here. He's laughing. He's like, yeah, like weed takes time. You just can't cure weed in 2 weeks.
Well, what's happening in that time? Like, what's going on there? What's the process involved? That I know you
the
said
sugars and the starches are converting.
They're converting, and it's because now they've lost their. What causes that conversion? I mean, they know they've been cut off.
Oxidization.
I guess. So, what are you doing then when you're burping your jar?
You're allowing that air to get out, the stagnant air to come out.
So you're changing the moisture level dramatically, and then it responds to that. And is temperature involved in curing at all?
Well, I always cure at 63, so you don't want to cure too hot, because when you get too hot, you're going to lose those terpenes again. That's when they boil off. So when you get hot grow rooms and people are growing it hot and they're curing at 78, 80 degrees, you got no flavor in the weed and it's airy, well, it's because they improperly cured their weed. They tried doing it too quick, too fast, and too hot.
Right. Do you change the temperature in the grow room before harvest?
100%. All of my videos.
We just need to watch the videos.
Get on there.
So,
how to cure your cannabis, testing water activity. There's great videos online. Some of them are in the hundreds of thousands, some of them are in the millions on my channel. There's one really good one there on water activity and curing cannabis. It's got about 500,000 views. It talks about the curing, the process, the water activity. I test all the way through. I show you the different levels of the water activity in the cannabis and the relativity in the room. So it gives you an idea when you can cure and how to cure without using all these gadgets, by just simply watching a video and getting an idea by taking a simple gauge and controlling the relative humidity in your room. Can actually control the relative water activity in your cannabis after a period of 2 weeks, and learning how the stalk snaps, using that stalk to actually be its own natural humidor instead of using humidity packs. If you cure properly, the stalk itself will keep your cannabis fresh. I've had cannabis that I've never used humidity pack before in my life in a jar for a year or two, take it out and it's fresh and snaps and it's beautiful. So it's how you cure and how you store.
Right, 100%. In the last little bit, an opportunity to get off your chest anything you wanted to make sure you talked about. And
cannabis saves lives. And you should be growing it. And if you're not, you should be giving it away to somebody for growing it for somebody else. Like, and you hear about all these arrests and everything else like that. And these guys and these cops, they're doing their job. They're governed. They're run by a man. They got to feed their families. And we've known this from other people that we know from people from Normal, from John Conway. And we've seen these other cops that have been involved and now have turned because they no longer are working for the man. So now they support the plan. So I mean, at the same time, I feel for them that they have to do this job. And I see how some of them are being treated, because you can see just in their own faces, like, if I don't do this, I can't feed my kids. And that's wrong, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is,
So
yeah.
it's our governments that really should be punished, and not the people that are enforcing some of these. And I really look at that now as in I see how people are being harmed by just simple, like, you're this, you're that, and they're just sitting there looking at them like, and they know that.
It's
so
all coming from the top.
it's all coming from the top. So it's
The
really it's the
corruption runs
top
deep and it
people that
runs
we're
right
really
to the
looking
top
at.
here.
We're looking at those top government officials. It's like when you go to WorkSafe BC, those caseworkers and stuff like that. They're not trying to harm you, but they have a book they have to follow.
Right.
And the only people that can really make it is getting to those politicians, getting to those things, filing against them, and getting to your. There's all these little steps that you can take to start making a change. Because people by
with that
numbers
case
change
of yours,
governments.
I mean, you were trying to use cannabis as medicine in place of these other pharmaceuticals that they're more than willing to pay for. They're fighting you in court to make you keep taking stuff that's costing. I mean, who are they protecting? They're not trying to protect you. They're obviously protecting their pharmaceutical interests. That part of the structure of our world here is whose interests are at play there. That's why they're doing what they're doing. It's not about protecting you. It's really, really sad. What are you doing in the upcoming year here? You got some events you're going to? What's 420?
You know what?
I mean, 420.
420 is around the corner. I was looking at all these events I used to go to, like every month. I used to fly around the country, and I used to go to all these different events. But
You're not going to do that anymore?
I'm done.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah?
because I'm not really. Before it was about the people, but now it's kind of like there's all these events are just about how much money they can make.
Right.
You know, these events have turned into just a way of these events are making money. They're not trying to bring people there anymore. They're just
Right.
trying to bring money. They're trying to
Well,
get you
good
to.
for you. I hear that for sure, 100%.
So I figured
I mean,
I
it's
can
a
do a lot
business. When
more.
you're selling med-tainers, I mean, you got that side of it's going to exist. I mean, you got that it put in motion. You're not going to let that go, and it's good to get med-tainers out there anyway. But
everybody knows
you don't
what a
have to be
med-tainer
there.
is.
You
I
don't
don't
have to be there
anymore.
You know, you can have other people. do
I
that
have
for you.
so many. Well, it's not just that, but I mean, as I've used the bottle to get me to where I am, actually the plant has helped me to get to where I am. I haven't used the bottle; it's helped me get to where I am and stuff like that.
I mean, Health Canada should approve your bottle there. Is there
It's
any-
Canadian compliant packaging. It's all approved, but Health Canada doesn't make the approvals.
Who makes the approval?
The LP's compliance officers make the call if they can be used, which some of them are. It's this, that. We look at polyfied medical grade plastic, so it's more recyclable than glass, to be honest. If you take a glass jar, really in reality, only 30% of it's recycled. It's coming from sand that's coming from our rivers that are depleting. So what's that really causing more harm?
Yeah, I actually watched
Just
a documentary
throwing it out there.
on how we're kind of running out of sand.
We're completely running out of sand from all the glass. And when we recycle the glass, only 30% of it's recyclable, 70% goes to waste.
Right.
This breaks down and chips so fine and it's completely reusable. The polymedical 5 plastic is $180 million recycling by 2025.
So that's not made from fossil fuels?
No.
Is that right? Nice.
So we're polyfied medical grade, so it's polyfied, so it's like your yogurt containers, your baby bottles and stuff like that. So
Right.
that's what that's made from. So
Nice.
it's actually 100% type of recyclable. It doesn't break down properly, but it does when it's done. It's chipped, so it can be then reusable. And that's the biggest thing about polyfine is the size it can break down to. So I've learned a lot about this, and I only want to do a presentation on recyclable plastics because people keep talking about the single-use plastics, but we're not talking about reusable plastics that are actually more recyclable than metals and plastic.
Right, because the government stores are selling cannabis in these ridiculous single-use plastic containers. They've deemed them to be single-use because they say that they've contained narcotics after.
So the
after
whole
that
thing is
single
with
use.
our bottle,
but,
which
I mean,
is
if
a
they
perfect-
sold cannabis in your med-tainers,
They can be sterilized and reusable, and I give LPs their own pad tone colors so you know where they came from, so they can be in a recycling program, that they have a buyback program. I just saved the whole system, but no one wants to talk about it.
Yeah, because I mean, then
No
they
more
could sell
plastic waste.
cannabis considerably cheaper.
They can sell it
Because
cheaper,
I don't
and
know how
then
much
once you
you're
get
paying for
10
that
of these,
packaging, but-
once you get 10 of these, you just throw them back in recycling because the color goes back to the LP. They sterilize them, they're reused.
Yeah.
Or they're broken down and they're recycled.
Exactly, and you know, right now with the government containers and the packaging that they've got,
And then think of the
I don't
advertising
know what
now.
it takes to get that big bulky container that they've got the little bud
put 'em
in
on by hand, they have
inside there.
machines.
But I just know it's instinctual. You can tell that whole thing of packaging there cost our world a whole lot more to put together and to be there in your hand than that little bud that they just picked off a great big tree and stuck in
And
there.
it sits in this big container
You know?
that goes around on planes and thrucks around, and by the time you open it, there's no trichomes of it. It's bone dry. It's a hard little rock piece of shit. Sorry.
I heard something else the other day that in California they've decided that the cannabinoids that they were putting into some of the drinks, they were infusing drinks with cannabinoids, that the aluminum containers were zapping the cannabinoids. Like 97% of the cannabinoids were being lost because they were all just, for some reason, somehow the aluminum cans were
I don't know how.
So
I say,
the LPs in Canada are now pulling back their what was going to go onto the shelves because they're going to have to solve this problem and put it into something other than aluminum cans.
Put it.
I just heard that yesterday. We'll have to verify
you need
all
fat
that.
in order for it to bind. I always say that, so I don't know how you could put these.
I don't know. I just heard that yesterday. We'll have to verify all of that.
Yeah.
But there was something. Mind you, at 2% or 2 milligrams of cannabinoids inside those drinks, they're not going to do much for anybody anyway. I'm not sure what people are expecting to get out of it, but. If you think you're getting a high off it, you're probably probably a
most
placebo.
people don't get drunk from a beer, but if they drink 6, so they figure they do the same thing. If you want to have one thing of THC, it's fine. But
6 cannabis drinks are not going to get anybody wasted. That's for sure. You're going to waste your money, but you're not going to get wasted on it.
Well, the whole thing is when we look at medicinal, we look at some older people and stuff like that. If there's a way for them being able to alleviate some pain with a little bit of cannabinoids, where it's going to help them with their arthritis or with their sickness and stuff like that. I mean, it's great because I'm starting to see more and more people get more actively involved in using cannabinoids, and with these little now things we're able to access that. But in reality, legalization, I don't know what to say. It's
until
from a business perspective, from a business owner,
until they make it legal, what people are actually doing, it's not
really
legalization. Like as long as
it's monopolized, so you're getting certain companies that are getting the distribution to the government stores. As we know, cannabis culture can't buy certain accessories from certain companies now because they're only government run. And as someone like myself that has been selling to all these stores for the last over a decade, is now seeing that these stores are now disappearing.
Yeah.
And not from 1, 2, but from like over.
Are you getting
over
any
3.
pressure not to sell your product to?
No, I just don't have any people to sell the product to.
Yeah, the stores.
It's not that there's no pressure, but from 480 stores being closed down, from illegal stores, from recreational stores, from just your plain old mom and pop, bong shops and stuff like that, from all those corner stores you used to have, they're all gone. They're all slowly disappearing.
And in case you don't know, the government is putting the clamps onto the suppliers of papers and bongs and pipes and all those things. Anything that's got to do with cannabis consumption, they're kind of
it's going to monopolize
anybody
things.
that doesn't have a license sell it.
So I mean, it's how now it's kind of like you can go to your local store that's got a bunch of stuff from India, or they got this or some kind of cheap glass or something like that.
Lots of the
I've been on
corner stores
eBay,
have
and eBay's just a shitstorm. All right, so there's nothing really there. You go to Cannabis Culture downstairs, but I mean, there isn't one of those in every city, right?
Nope.
That's the whole thing.
I know.
I mean, and all of these shops that are, if you go to every little city and they might have these little stores, but those little stores, once they open up 2 or 3 licensed stores for selling weed, those little stores no longer exist. They get closed real quick, especially in small little towns. Because a small town can't handle that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, all these little mom and pop stores that I've been dealing with for the last 10 years, like that, are gone. It's like poof.
Are you optimistic, lad?
I'm moving forward.
Yeah.
And getting people to understand that it's their medicine. You can grow your own. You can, if
How
you're
much do
looking
you
for,
use? How much do you talk in terms of milligrams?
Not
Do you
really.
Do you eat cannabis?
Of course, every day.
And they do talk in terms of milligrams. What kind of milligrams do you think you're taking?
Well, the whole thing is that we never really know because we don't even know with legalization with this and that. So I used to take for about 280 milligrams a day in certain things. Till today, I mean, with the raws and stuff that I smoke, at night is when I normally take some caps and stuff like that. But these are caps that I made 8 years ago. So I mean, I got enough to last me a lifetime, right?
Right. All right. Well, Johnny, I can't thank you enough for the passion that you have.
Can't thank you enough.
Put into this journey of yours with 300 videos and helping people
25
grow.
million people viewed those videos. You know how many people grew from that?
A lot.
That is amazing.
Yeah, you never know.
That to me is so empowering of how many people are truly growing their own because again, that's right. Why?
Growing. Like, millions
because
of
everybody
people.
can grow. And it's
Wow.
really that easy.
I know
You need
there's
a
people that
space.
say, well, I can't grow because I live in a small apartment. Well, maybe you can't even in a small apartment. Or maybe
One
you
plant,
can
one
because,
seed, one windowsill.
you know, there are those who can't. But, you know, for everybody who can.
But you can grow
figure it
that
out.
seed just for love. You don't have to grow it to get.
If you can have a
weed.
house plant,
You can have it as a house plant.
you can
Just
grow.
You
grow
can
a plant,
legally
you
grow a
know.
plant. So
It's
just
a
grow the damn
plant.
seed.
Yeah, they make beautiful house plants too.
Amazing.
It's fun to grow. They grow fast, so
what
you
I
get
mean.
to see a fair difference pretty quick. So, you're still having fun growing.
Never stop.
It'll never stop being fun. Are you
I'm
still
growing
learning?
16
Are you still
trees right
learning
now.
every day?
Tonight at 8 p.m. I do a premiere on my channel. So every
Okay.
Tuesday I have a video. So you can go to like 420 Weedmaster YouTube.
Right, you got a show on it at Tuesdays 8 o'clock.
Tuesdays, well, normally 7, but I know it's here today, so I'm premiering at 8, so
Well,
that way I
thank you
can
for
be
that.
there. Yeah.
And thanks for coming. And look forward to seeing you at some events in the future. I'm sure
All
you'll
of
go.
them. If
you're
you're
still
at
gonna-
them, I'm there.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. And we'll see you on Jared's show, and we'll see you here and there, and we'll see you everywhere, because that's just how it's been for all this time. Bumping
Hey, man, I
into
used to
each other.
almost live in Pot TV. Remember, I
We're
was on
living.
everybody's
We're
show.
walking similar paths through the.
We're always
forest
on the
here.
same path. It's called the path, the plant path.
The plant path. The path of the plant.
The path of the plant.
Very nice. Very nice. Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks, Neil.
We'll see you again on another show soon, and we'll see you at 420. That's going to be
sure,
so
man.
much fun.
Thank you very much.
Cannabis saved their life. You know what's going on? We're bagging up stuff for the Cannabis Substitution Project. These are the care packs that we give out. We give out about somewhere between 160 to 200 of these packs every time that we're here, twice a week.
And what's in the packs?
The packs would have, typically there's gummy, candy there, a cap, a joint. We have these other caramel types of gummies. But unfortunately, because of the city's clampdown on dispensaries and the transition to the non-medical legal government stores, the access to cannabis edibles has really been reduced. So we had 150 dispensaries here, none of them government stores, all of them medical to a degree, all of them with edibles. And that was just the marketplace, the demand and then the supply coming to meet the demand. And the city decided to interfere with that, and now there's people really struggling to find what they need out there.
It's hard for
and
me
to the
to
point
get
where we
edibles
have
and afford them.
180 people going to line up here today in the rain for hours
I know, I've
to
seen
get
it this morning.
a bag like that. There's a great need in this city that's not being met.
It made me feel different. And probably where I went off the rails was getting into the acid and the speed and heroin. But fortunately for me, I didn't go overboard. And after doing a week run one time, getting sick and diarrhea, I turned my life over to God, became a Christian, but I still smoked weed. And now I've had 3 surgeries, and I don't take meds.
So it actually gives me pain relief, as well as helps me with epilepsy, as well as anxiety, panic attacks. Yeah.
I'd rather smoke weed or any edibles than go back to pills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pills kill.
Yeah.
Weed doesn't.
I don't depend on buying pharmaceuticals and speed drugs as much anymore because I take care of my physical pain with medical marijuana and the edibles that are provided for me.
Kind of helps me a lot.
It's really ironic that police would waste their efforts on edibles, marijuana edibles, when there's actually people dying from opiate crisis. I don't see anybody dying from eating edibles. I see people being well and not taking opiates because they feel better, they don't need to take it.
Keeps me calm and keeps me pain free.
Awesome, thank you. The cannabis helps me eat with my meds. Yeah. Because I have a hard time eating with my meds. So I eat like gummy gels, Billy Bombs before I eat, and then I'm able to like eat a whole meal.
That pink is healed.
Yeah.
Scab's gone.
Yeah,
It's
that's
4
from
weeks.
the oil.
This
inside, right?
arm was broken. Like that, the one package, you've got enough. You've got enough of it. It doesn't take an endless amount, just that one dose per week or day or whatever it takes you. And I'll put it down. I'll put it down and say, I don't need it anymore. I'm fine.
No, it's a nightmare just getting housing. I use it, I eat it, I smoke it, and I use the cream for my arthritis.
It gives people an alternative to what other people would give you as the bad button, and this is the right button to get. It's been with us for thousands of years. Yeah. And now because of political complications, we can't deal with it as mature adults. So this is a healing band-aid for us economically. If people will just free up the situation and allow the garden to grow.
My husband Doug and I are the owners of the S&M Medicinal Sweet Shop over in Gibsons, BC. We're a seed-to-table edibles company, so with that, I grow all of the cannabis that goes into all of our edible products that Doug makes. We started the company originally for Doug. Doug was on narcotics for 25 plus years. 5.5 of that was oxycodone. He really needed to get off of it, so he decided to make edibles.
Yeah.
So we started making edibles, and he slowly weaned himself off of methadone.
Been using it medically for 44 years because of my heart.
I smoke sativa, and I find sometimes it just gives me a little bit of energy.
She can't walk. She has diabetes, and her legs swell up so bad and sores. She can't walk. I can. Yeah. So I come all the way from New Westminster and get this, take it home, and give most of it to her.
Edibles in this city are unaffordable for low-income people. The taxing of medical cannabis is wrong. Please don't tax our medical cannabis. We need it. It saves my life. It saves their life. And it'll save somebody from opiate death. How many? 230 people. That is the biggest lineup we had so far this year.
Help people with offsetting the use of street drugs because they kill people. The lack of access is definitely causing deaths in this city. So shame on the government, shame on our municipal government for not allowing the free access to medical dispensaries and edibles, which should be happening.
So say thank you, man. I really appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Shame, shame, shame. It's really disappointing that we don't get help with the CSP for those people that obviously are benefiting greatly from it and are being hurt greatly for the lack of access. Shame on the government for what they did today in shutting down temporarily the S&M Sweet Shop. And my heart goes out to Doug and Michelle and all that they're going to be going through with the result of this. It's shocking and devastating when your government attacks you and all you've been trying to do is help people and provide access to something that saves people's lives and helps them greatly in a world where the government, because of corruption, and it isn't as much ignorance as they would like to plead, but mostly because of the corruption that runs so deep and so to the top in our country, that this is where we're at, and they are certainly being exposed for that. But in any case, the CSP is a bright light shining in the darkness here, thanks to the volunteers and the donators. I got a donation sent to Neil that I want to say thank you so much for. I'm not going to mention the name because I don't know exactly whether you want me to mention your name or not, but it was very nice and it'll help us a lot as we move forward as a society now. We are the Serious Hope Society. On Sunday, we're going to have our first board meeting with our newly formed society. I'm sure a lot of dynamic things are going to come out of this, and it is the umbrella society for the Cannabis Substitution Project. As we're moving forward with that, we had a great meeting with the city councillor just recently here, as I reported on the last show. And we're moving forward in opening a location as quick as we can. And hopefully with the cooperation of the government, certainly this one councillor is in favor of what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. And she's in the process of convincing the other councillors that they should support us as well. And I think that's going to be the case because we are good people trying to do things the right way to address a very serious situation of not just lack of access to medical cannabis for medical patients using it for a variety of different health issues, but for the opioid crisis where people are, as we've demonstrated so successfully, that people can transition off of the opioids and the street drugs using high-dose cannabis edibles, and our city is going to support that, and we're hoping that that happens very quickly as well. So thank you so much for everybody who donates to our project. We need more because we never quite match the need, but for those who do donate, we can't thank you enough. And for the volunteers that come and show up every time and never miss, I mean, these people take it so seriously. It's not a casual thing to our volunteers. They don't decide every once in a while just not to show up. It never happens. We always have our core group of volunteers there every single time, twice a week, Thursdays and Sundays at noon at 380 East Hastings at Van Du. We are there with a huge lineup of people waiting for us to give out care packs of high-dose cannabis edibles to help them get off the opioids. So come on down. Check out what we do. Help us with donations if you can, or just come down and bring positive energy and take back the stories that these people have as to how this is helping them so much, and how they deserve to have easy access to high-dose cannabis edibles. And the fact that they don't has got nothing to do with anything except corruption at the highest levels of our government, and it really needs to stop and have an end put to it. So the things coming up in our world involve a demonstration, a protest, a house party, if you will, coming up that Ted Smith is putting on for the Victoria Buyers Club. That's February 21st. That'll be in Victoria at 260 4243 Glanford Street, or Glanford Avenue. So if you're in Victoria or anywhere close to that, go out and support. Did we play our videos of that? We did play the video.
Yep, but we've got I'll put it in the show notes, a link to an hour of Ted speaking, Dana speaking. You spoke a bit, the whole thing's there. I'll include, actually Glenn Wells had a video too, so we'll get
Cool.
two angles of the same thing. It was,
Yeah, that was a good day there, getting the point across.
I
And
think it was very articulate. It's very sensible. Like what more needs to be said? Like really, I think this has enough examples of people clearly being wronged by this, and an obvious solution.
Yeah,
It doesn't seem
exactly.
to bring anyone. I think you presented that.
Well, the people that are being hurt by people getting access to cannabis easily are the corporate, financial people who have interests to protect. It's profits over people. It's profits over patients. It's despicable. It's disgusting.
Because you think a large company could actually make a large, effective, high-dose edible specifically for someone like a.
They could.
If you really made a good industrial granola bar that was sustaining and did a number of things, but you'd have to want to do that, not just lobby for trying to overcharge people for a milligram of THC.
Yeah, they want
Yes, we don't-
to overcharge people for a couple milligrams of THC. They also don't want it to work. They don't want people to know. They don't want to admit that cannabis works, that you can grow your own plants. You can easily take those plants and make them into things that you can eat or smoke or vape. And all of that can replace many of the things that they've got you paying large dollars for. This is big bucks. This is huge corruption. And it's big business trying to devalue cannabis for growing for yourself and monopolize the sale of it as best they can and maximize the profits. It's just disgusting.
It's not even working.
It can't work with their model. But can you imagine if the producers of cannabis, the sellers of cannabis that are getting these licenses from Health Canada, if they had to also hire the army of enforcers to go out and make sure that nobody else sold cannabis? Can you imagine that? That would cost them a hell of a lot of money. So it's a pretty good gig they got. That they've got this product, they've got this license that allows them to sell this product, and they've got the government using our money to run around and make sure that nobody else sells the product and make sure you have to be driven to these different stores. I mean, this is disgusting. This is such a criminal misuse of our public funds and abuse of their power. It is absolute criminal, and it's murder where they're preventing people to get access that would otherwise use it instead of street opioids and that sort of thing. So very, very disgusting. Good on Ted Smith for taking the time and energy to go and put these protests together. Support him in doing that. February 21st. And that's at Lana Popham's office, by the way. I'm not even sure who Lana Popham is, but Ted thinks she's someone of influence that needs to understand the impact that these laws are having on people and how wrong they are. So go there and support that. The other one on our list of upcoming events would be 420. That's the big one that's coming up. We're just a couple months away from that now. There's a 420 volunteer meeting coming up on Thursday at Cannabis Culture here on the second floor lounge at 5 p.m. So if you're in the area or if you want to volunteer for 420, come on down to the volunteer meeting and get oriented about what your duties would be and how you do that. Being a volunteer is a great thing. It's an amazing way to experience 420. We have joints for people to hand out typically, and we have all sorts of cool situations that the volunteers help sort out, and it really it's really a cool thing to be feeling like you're an official part of 420, and t-shirts to boot. So come out to the meeting. That's this coming Thursday. That's the 20th of February here at Cannabis Culture. Also, the booths have gone on sale. They went on sale on February 15th. I understand they're going much faster than they did last year. And
last year is like, wow.
Yeah.
Take a look at 15 seconds of footage of last year and tell me that if you wanted an opportunity to sell some stuff, you wouldn't be thinking, if it worked out half as well, you'd be like, oh, this is pretty good.
Yeah, we provided an excellent marketplace for people to sell their wares. That's for sure. Yes, people seem to like this stuff, and there's such a huge demographic of people there and a huge a bunch of needs. So the booths are available from Cannabis Culture, and that supports the event. It helps us with the expenses that are incurred by the event, which are substantial. But if you don't want to buy a booth, then we make sure that there's at least as much space available to people who just want to set up their own booths and not have to pay for it. That's always been a tradition with all of our events, that the people that want to support the event and in that way, and I'm not saying that you don't support the event by coming there and not paying for a booth. You do, absolutely. If you're going there to set up a booth, that supports the event. Those people that want to support financially and have a booth that's in that sort of guarded area, I mean, they don't have to get up as early to set up their booths. They've got it set aside for them, and that's not the case with the free zones. The free zones, first come, first serve. Got to get there early. Got to be able to get your equipment down there and set up and everything. So it's a little easier, of course, to have a paid-for booth. There are definitely advantages to that, but all of that's available.
If you've got cash and just want your own chill-out zone,
it's
the space you get the space.
I'm not here to sell booths. They're going to sell themselves. More than that, I'm here to warn people that if you want to get a booth, you should get it pretty quickly, because they are going fast and they won't be there forever. What are you showing me there? 420 countdown clock, 60 days. We have 60 days to go. Can you imagine that? They're going to go very, very fast.
20 hours and 40
Especially if you live like me.
I just remember seeing this guy with
I need to get you a mic.
25 pizzas. I'm not even kidding.
25 pizzas.
It had to be at least.
Carrying them down into the crowd.
Carrying them down, I don't know. It seems like yeah.
It's a fun time for sure. I can't wait.
Otherwise occupied.
Yeah, and we're working with the city to pull off a great event this year. I don't know if they're going to give us a permit or not. That's always up in the air. They may or they may not. It doesn't matter. They permit us to do it, because what else are they going to do? How do you stop 100,000 people? That just want to chill and socialize and find some cannabis products to help them in their lives. The government knows they can't stop that, so they work with us. It's a public safety issue. In fact, 420 is an organic event that Cannabis Culture has helped to grow, used as a platform to protest against the bad laws, and we're certainly going to be doing a lot of that this year. But it's a gathering of people who come whether or not there's 420 organizers and a stage or not. There would be 420 celebrated in this city. It would be huge. But at Cannabis Culture here, I've been a big part of that for about the last 20 years or so. We have tried to grow the event and use it as a platform to be able to protest about what we're not happy about. But as I say, we're there more to just facilitate all these people that would be showing up anyway to celebrate the traditional 420 Day in Vancouver. And we try to make sure it's a well-organized event that doesn't leave a huge impact on the area that we have it in. We always clean up the garbage and everything else and leave it better than we found it. And we also try to keep people safe, because a huge gathering like that, certainly if it was an event that involved alcohol, there'd be real safety concerns. But because it's cannabis, touch wood, we always pull it off, and everybody keeps everybody else safe, and we all always have a good event. So that's coming up. That's the one that's the big one on our coming events list. Other things that are coming up on Pot TV, of course, are the other Pot TV shows. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we have From Under the Influence, Greg Williams' show. He's always got a really interesting take on how legalization is rolling itself out, and the rights and wrongs of what's going on in this world. On Friday, it's Cannabis Culture News Live with Jeremiah Vandermeer. The best way to get up to date on everything that's happening in the cannabis world, for sure. Jer's a big part. He's the main part of organizing 420, so you'll find out all of the hot details about what's new and the breaking news on 420 here in Vancouver from Jer's show. Saturday, high noon with Boss Lissa and her co-hosts. Just a fun time of chilling out and enjoying the sacred herb and the magical vapors. And on Monday, it's the 420 Lifestyle Show with Carly Marley and BC Bud Gal, where they have as much fun as they can exploring the cannabis lifestyle and everything about that, and all the current news and everything else, as well as we do on all the shows. And then I'll be back next Tuesday for another episode of THC. I want to thank Cannabis Culture for allowing me to use this space, to Neil, my producer, for making it all work, to my guest today, for Glenn, 8 out of 10 Glenn from CannaMatch.ca. Check that out. If you want to meet somebody and you want to know where to get together with somebody and enjoy some magical vapors, check out CannaMatch.ca. For Jerry Martin for coming on, giving up his time on his journey that's not much fun for him at all, as he awaits his fate by our evil government with respect to him running his dispensary in Saskatchewan that they shut down over 3 years ago, and he still hasn't had his day in court, and they've been terrorizing him for all of this time. Enough already. Cruel and unusual punishment. Not only drop the charges, but give him his stuff back and apologize. It's long overdue, but here we have now a new prosecutor on that case who's going to be booking his hours and collecting his paychecks to do nothing but prevent medical cannabis patients from getting access and not getting anybody off the streets that's ever hurt a soul. So really sad that that's going on, but thanks to Jerry for coming on for that. To Landlord for joining us for the 420 session, to Johnny B for sharing his story with us and telling us little glimpses of how you grow and how you cure and all of that kind of stuff. But you can find out all the big glimpses of how he does that and how he shares that information on his YouTube channel, where he's got over 300 videos to do that. And thank you for watching. Once again, we're just practicing these shows until we get it right. But in the meantime, we're trying to pass along as much information as we can to help you, help us, as we all fight together to get our rights back and get this ship going where it should go, which is a world of freedom, where we are individual, sovereign, autonomous beings living a life of abundance with public servants who respect our rights and stand up to those people who would exploit us and take those rights away. What a world we're waiting for. We'll get there. Have as much fun as you can on the way.